Good evening, everyone. We're ready to begin tonight's City of Gardena City Council meeting for July 23rd, 2019. Madam City Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Madam Mayor, all council members are present.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, is there anything to report from closed session?
No reportable action was taken.
Okay, thank you. At this time, we're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. We're going to ask if everyone can please stand. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Leilani Jordan and Jonathan Jordan. Immediately following that, if you can continue standing for the invocation, which will be led by the Reverend Edwin R. Sigurza, who is the pastor at Iglesia Roca Forte.
Please stand. Put your right hand over your heart. Face the flag. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening to each of those present and invited to this important meeting scheduled by Gardena Council. God says that we shall pray for the authorities and every man and woman in government and the office. I'm inviting my assistant, Rene Prado. He wants to read the special paragraph from the Bible, special for each authority in this city hall and the officers and many people. Please pay attention.
I'm going to read this passage of the Bible. It's Romans chapter 13, verses 1 through 5. Everyone must submit himself to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established. The authorities that exist have been established by God. Consequently, he who rebels against the authority is rebelling against what God has instituted. And those who do so will bring judgment on themselves. For rulers hold no terror for those who do right, but for those who do wrong. Do you want to be free from fear of the one in authority? Then do what is right, and he will commend you, for he is God's servant to do your good. But if you do wrong, be afraid, for he does not bear the sword for nothing. He is God's servant, an agent of wrath, to bring punishment on the wrongdoer. Therefore, it is necessary to submit to the authorities, not only because of possible punishment, but also because of conscience. Amen.
Please let us pray in this moment. God, sovereign and strong and powerful, I come before you asking for your coverage for each of those who govern this city of Gardena. Lord, give them Solomon's wisdom when they have to proceed or make a decision. Lead them through your spirit. Extend your strong arm over Mayor Tasha Cerda, who carries a great responsibility. I'm asking for every Gardena Police Department officer and for their families, for every firefighters and their families also, for the teachers and students in Gardena schools and business owners. May they all be protected and defended by the angel of God. Tonight is the most important, Father God, for this meeting. Put it in each heart and each mind their responsibility conducting to the Gardena in good hands. Thank you, Father Lord. Amen.
You may be seated. If I can get Leilani and Jonathan to come back to the front. So tonight's Pledge of Allegiance was led by Leilani Jordan, who is 7 years old, and her younger brother, Jonathan Jordan. Both of them are participants in the summer day camp at Johnson Memorial Park, which is sponsored by our Recreation and Human Services Department. In the fall of 2019, both will attend Dinker Avenue Elementary School. Leilani will be in the second grade, and Jonathan will be in kindergarten. Also, when school begins in August, they will be participating in the city's after-school program. So let's see. Let's start with Jonathan. Jonathan, can you tell us who's here with you tonight?
Mom.
Your mom. Where's your mom at? Right there. Let's give her a round of applause for bringing them out. And let's see. Leilani, is there anything that you would like to say for you and your brother?
No.
Nope. Okay, that's okay. Well, thank you for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance tonight. You guys did a great job, and we look forward to you guys coming back in the future and have fun in the after-school program. All right? Everyone, give them a round of applause one more time. Thank you. You can take your seat now. If we could have our pastor please come back to the front again. Pastor, come back. So tonight's invocation was led by the Reverend Edwin R. Sungizat, who is the pastor at Iglesia Roca Forte, which means the Solid Rock Church. It's located at 1025 Marine Avenue. Pastor Sungizat was born in Guatemala, Central America. Before entering the ministry, he was an elementary school teacher for 13 years, having received a degree in humanities at the University of San Carlos in Guatemala. He came to the United States in January of 1990 to pastor Iglesia Roca Forte in the South Bay area and relocated his ministry and a congregation to Gardena. Some of his activities are Christian educator in the New Image Christian Center in Inglewood from 1990 to 2004, collaborator for the Gloria March in Mexico from 2000 to 2011, church organizer of special events from 2004 to 2009 for the Ebenezer family in Carson, and logistics coordinator for the Festival of Hope, which was held at the Home Depot Center in 2011. Pastor Siguenza and his wife Emma have three adult children. Pastor, is there anything that you would like to say?
Right. Our responsibility from God is to pray, especially for women's, men's, kids, and authorities. Very especially for the police officers, because they protect us. Our responsibility is talk to God, and God protect their families and each officer. It's a great job. It's our responsibility to covering to them from the big man's from God. No blanket. It's a bigger cloud. Thank you, Mayor Tasha, again for inviting us tonight. God bless you, each one.
Thank you as well. Please give him a round of applause as well. So next, we're going to move on to our new custom, which is where we honor military veterans who reside here in the city of Gardena. And tonight, our military veteran that we'll be honoring is Mr. William R. Horn, who was selected by Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian. So as Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian walks down to the front, Mr. Horn, if you could come forward here to the podium, I'd like to just read your bio. It states, Mr. Horn is 72 years of age and a longtime resident of Gardena. His military service includes, he was inducted into the U.S. Army on August the 8th, in 1966, and served until he was honorably discharged on August 7th, 1969, at Fort Bliss, Texas, at the rank of Specialist 5T, grade E5. He served as a member of the Battery C, S, and F Battalion, based on the Special Security Center, U.S. Army Air Defense School. His specialty title was Automatic Data Link Repairman. His training at Fort Bliss included that of Fire District Systems Electronics, of term data link repair at the Fire Unit Integrity Facility, as well as the completion of an instructor's training course. For his military service, Horn was awarded the following: the National Defense Service Medal, Expert Rifle Qualification Badge, and the Good Conduct Medal. So tonight, Councilmember Kaskanian has a special coin that was specifically designed to honor those who are receiving this special award. Also, Mr. Horn will receive complimentary pictures of tonight's meeting along with a DVD, as well as his picture will be displayed on the electronic sign of at the corner of Redondo Beach Boulevard and Western. Also, Mr. Horn has a special recognition from our California Assembly member, Al Marsucci, which states, this certificate of recognition is being presented to William R. Horn, who was in the United States Army, and it's an official recognition and celebration of your dedication and service to the United States of America, and it's with his sincere appreciation for your selfless acts of courage. He states, congratulations, Assemblymember Al Marsucci from the 66th District, and it was dated today, July 23rd, 2019. Mayor Pro Tem, will you please present this to him? Thank you. Mr. Horn, if there's anything that you would like to say?
Leave it on. Okay. Thank you. Well, this is quite an honor. Thank you very much, Council, and to the gallery, thanks for being here, and of course, Richard, who's, I think, got a lot more service than I've got. As I said, this is a great honor, and I think that, every veteran in Gardena should have the same opportunity. And it's just a matter of our seeking them out and having them receive this honor. I know that many of them would decline for whatever reason. But I think it's a duty that we have to make sure that they're taken care of, that they're recognized and they're known. And I do thank, again, thanks this council for this honor. It's not something I expected. Shar chased me for, I don't know, a year with a form. Once we got the form, it still took a little bit of time, but I do appreciate her help, and she's a great asset to the city of Gardena and to the veterans.
Yes,
Thank you
she
very
is.
much.
All right, thank you. Everyone, give him a round of applause. Okay. So next, we have a special recognition, and this here is for the members of the City of Gardena Police Explorers Post 142 for their success in the 9th Annual Central Valley Explorers Competition, which was held on June 28th through June 30th in Manteca, California. So is there a representative for the Explorers tonight who's representing them? Please come forward. And if you like, your Explorers can come behind you if you like, but okay, the microphone is yours.
Good evening. Thank you for having us. I'm Officer Nash. I'm an advisor for our Gardena Police Department Explorer program. On behalf of our advisors, I'd like to personally thank the City Council and our City Manager, and importantly, our Chief Kang, for continually showing support to our program and giving us everything we need to be a successful program. I'd like to introduce Explorer De La Rosa.
Hello, good evening. I'd like to personally thank Mayor Tasha Serta, as well as all the council members, for your guys' support, the entire city of Gardena, as well as the Gardena Police Foundation and the Foundation of Gardena. I'd like to thank Chief Tom Kang and his command staff. I know that you being an explorer has really paved the way for us to want to be in your shoes one day. So thank you, the entire city. Thank you to Chief Kang for letting us use the whole department in order for us to train, and these 23 kids hopefully one day fill the shoes that need to be filled here at Gardena. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. Hold on, before we clap, hold on. I'm not letting you guys get off that easy. Can someone please explain to me what the competition entailed?
Hi, everyone. I'm Explorer Captain Preciado. Thank you, Mayor and the City Council, along with Chief Kane, for letting us be here and for this very welcoming recognition. So this competition, it's actually our second time going there. I know we are the only South Bay agency to travel all the way up north to Ripon. Our first year, 2018, it was in Ripon, California. This year it was in Manteca, California. So we arrived here at 1 a.m. that Thursday night or that Friday morning. We drove about 5 hours, and competition actually started at 8 a.m. So we were running on those 6 hours of sleep in the van. What this competition consisted of, it was more of a patrol-based competition, but more, I want to say, sheriff-based, because I know Gardena, our explorers, we love the tactics, we love to go hands-on, but over there, they're really looking forward to seeing how we explain things and what we really do behind our actions. So they had some events like suspicious person, and those were timed. They had domestic disturbance. There were some active shooter ones, and I believe there was actually a drill ceremony at that one. We actually placed second place in drill ceremony. I think that was our favorite one because that's the only competition we go to that we get to compete in drill. And throughout the Friday, Saturday, Sunday of competing, we all competed in 17 scenarios throughout the 3 days there.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good job. Thank you for taking the time to explain that to us, and wow, that's even more inspiring to hear. So congratulations to you guys. Now, give them a round of applause. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Congratulations and good job. All right. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part of our agenda here, which is appointments. Does any member of the council have any appointments to any commissions, committees, councils, or boards? If not, we're going to move on to our consent calendar. Does any member of the council wish to discuss any items on the consent calendar separately? If not, can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar as is?
So moved.
Is there okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, we're going to move on to Planning and Environmental Quality Commission action sheet. There are 2 items on there. First item is item number 7A1, which is a zone code amendment. And commission approved this one here. Looks like all we need to do is set a hearing for this here. Do we have a potential date for this? A month from now, or, I'm sorry, 2 weeks from now? August 13th?
August 13th.
August 13th? Okay. So I think that's all we need to do with that item there. Move on to item number 7A2, which is also, which is a conditional use permit. Does any member of the council wish to, it was currently approved by the commission. Does anybody wish to call for a review or appeal this item? If not, we're going to go ahead and receive and file. Next, we're going to move on to oral communications. What did I do with them? We have 2 speakers tonight. First one being Samaldi Cunningham from the Office of Assemblymember Autumn Burke, and the second one is Ms. Cheryl Sherman, so you can come forward at this time. I would like to remind all of our speakers that you are limited to 3 minutes unless extended by myself. This box here acts as your timekeeper. When the yellow light comes on, it will alert you that your 2 minutes are up. When the red light comes on, it will alert you that your 3 minutes are up. So I appreciate your cooperation in advance. So go ahead and hit the little red button and you can start.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. My name is Samandi Cunningham. I am here from the Office of Assemblywoman Autumn Burke. We wanted to come out and invite you all, as well as all the Gardena residents, to our 5th annual Back to School Health and Wellness Fair. It is not this Saturday, but next Saturday, August 3rd. It will be at Crozier Middle School in Inglewood, California, which is right behind Inglewood City Hall. The main cross streets are Regent and Fur. We will have health screenings, eye screenings. They'll be doing giving eyeglasses on site, dental screenings, diabetes check-ins, HIV testing, all of that, as well as giving away backpacks and school supplies for all students, ages kindergarten and up. Lunch will be provided. We will have performances, raffles, and just a lot of fun. So we hope that all the residents can come out. I have some flyers here if anybody wants to grab one from me. I can leave some as well, and we are also accepting vendors still and volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Cheryl Sherman?
Good evening, Council. Cheryl Sherman, Vice President of Friends of Gardena Willows Wetland Preserve. And this evening, I want to remind everyone that in August, we are dark for our work days, so we have no work day in the month of August due to the summer heat. However, our tours do still go on, so our next tour will be on August the 11th, and the topic will be trees and the environment, and we will have munchies, goodies. I'm not going to tell you the treats, it's a secret, but they will be yummy. And children will love them, and adults will drool over them. So come on to the preserve. It's at the end of your walk, and you'll be delighted you did. Moving on a little ahead of the schedule, I want to talk about September. September the 21st is our Restoration Workday, as well as the City of Gardena's Keep Gardena Beautiful Day. So I want to remind all residents that if you would like to work in the preserve that day, to please give us a call at 310-217-0681 to tell us your name and T-shirt size. So we will make sure that we can put in for a T-shirt. The city is providing free T-shirts that day to all participants. And after the workday, the city will be providing lunch for all participants. So if you are interested in helping at the preserve, please contact the Gardena Willows. And you can also contact us by email at gardenawillows@pacbell.net. Thank you very much, and I will see you next meeting.
Thank you. Okay, next we're going to move on to departmental items. Our first item up is item number 8A1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A1 is resolution number 6401, which authorizes the application for statewide park development and community revitalization program grant funds. This is going towards the possible expansion of our park facilities to include a North Gardena Dog Park and other facilities. The legislature of the state of California has delegated the State Department of Parks and Recreation the responsibility of administering the state park development and community revitalization grant. The established procedures governing the application require all applicants to certify by resolution the approval of the application before submission to the state. Staff recommends the City Council to adopt resolution number 6401, authorizing the city to apply for $8.5 million in funding for the creation of a North Gardena dog park and other facilities. The fiscal impact would be the potential of $8.5 million in grant funding to provide for the funding for that facility. What is required is to adopt resolution number 6401.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Okay, let's start on this end. Councilmember Henderson first, and then Councilmember
Thank you,
Cascanian.
Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in regards to the amount, potential amount that we could get, will we have to acquire some additional land, or we're just going to try to expand what we have or convert some of the existing land in Gardena North Park, or where will we put that?
That's a great question. What staff did is looked at available land in northeast Gardena where we don't currently have any recreational facilities. The funding would also provide for the acquisition of land. We will not be using any of our current park facilities. This is for the acquisition of land and the build-out of the facility.
Okay, Councilmember Medina?
Oh, thank you, Madam Mayor, and my question has been answered.
Okay, I have one question. So is this one-time money, or will there be a certain, if we get the grant, it'll be a certain amount that gets allotted out each year, or how does that work?
The city is currently in the process of applying for a number of grants. You've seen one before. We're trying to expand several park facilities and recreational areas. In this case, this funding would pay for the acquisition of land, the build-out of the facility, as I mentioned, but it does not really support like ongoing maintenance and things like that. There could be some potential for that depending on how the structures and the facilities are built to come in with some long-term maintenance agreements, but not for the staffing or anything like that.
One-time money then, okay. Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6401?
So moved.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Tanaka. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka, Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Let's see, Mayor Pro Tem. Yes, Medina, is Councilmember Medina
Yes.
and Mayor Serta.
Yes. Before we move on to the next item, can we do something about the air turning up a little bit? It's a little warm up here.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, I've been in contact with staff trying to get them to fix the air conditioning. It's currently turned down as low as it can, so we have somebody coming in right now to try to see if they can make adjustments. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next up is item number 8A2.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A2 is approval of a blanket purchase orders for fiscal year 1920. A blanket purchase order authorizes the city to buy goods or services with predetermined terms and conditions. Since these vendors either have individual contracts or piggybacking on state contracts or provide vital services for which the city is mandated to use, the requisitioner only needs to request one purchase order for the estimated amount of the expenditure for each fiscal year. This stops us from having to do purchase orders over and over again. The purchasing officer can issue these purchase orders for goods and services until the established dollar amount is reached. So anything that you're approving now, if it exceeds that, we will be coming back. As the city's purchasing policy requires City Council to authorize the purchase of goods and services that exceeds $30,000, it requested that the City Council approve the blanket purchase orders for fiscal year 1920. A list of those purchase orders are on the agenda summary report, and many of these companies you are familiar with because you approve other requests from them. The fiscal impact, the funding comes from a variety of different sources depending on what the vendor is. It could be gas tax money in the amount of about $45,000. General fund money is at $908,000. The enterprise, which is $1.1 million. So the total budgeted expense for the aggregate of these purchase orders is $2,071,800. What is required by the City Council is to approve the blanket purchase orders for fiscal year 1920.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Henderson?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, in regards to the oversight and control, blanket purchase orders, definitely get that. What's the approval process to make sure that the same person is actually making the request so somebody doesn't run us up to the total amount of the blanket purchase order and we're only halfway through the fiscal year? How does that approval process work?
It's several-fold. The first part is some of these purchase orders are going to be used by multiple departments. So it's the person within each department who is managing that portion of the funding for, let's just say, paper, for example. That paper is essentially purchased, but it's assigned per line item per each department. Ultimately, it's finance's responsibility to ensure that nothing exceeds what we authorize in these purchase orders. So if somebody went crazy and ordered a lot of paper and it's going to exceed for example, I think it's $35,000 in paper here from Spicer Paper. If it became $36,000, finance would not approve the additional $1,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the blanket purchase order?
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Henderson and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka,
Yes.
and Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8A3. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A3 is authorization to bind excess insurance coverage policies for fiscal year 1920. Gardena is self-insured for general liability and workman's compensation insurance and obtains excess insurance coverage for extraordinary exposure for vehicle damage to the G-Trans fleet. This year, the quote received from the California Transit Indemnity Pool, or CalTIP, was an estimated premium of $417,558. Staff recommends that the City Council authorize the purchase of excess insurance coverage for fiscal year 19 and 20 and a total estimated cost of $417,558 through CalTIP. Staff recommends the City Council to authorize the City Manager to execute the documents to bind the insurance policies. The fiscal impact is $390,000 for the excess liability. It's $27,528 for the vehicle physical damage, and the total expenditure, as I mentioned, $417,558. As you recall, we entered into insurance with CalTIP last year, but it was half a premium year. Prior to that, the last full premium year, we paid over $700,000 for this similar coverage, and it's now down to about $417,000, which is a great improvement. What is required by the City Council is to authorize the City Manager to purchase and bind excess insurance coverage as recommended.
Okay. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the authorization to bind the excess insurance coverage policies?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian,
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson,
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka, Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, next up is item number 8A4.
Mayor, Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8A4 is a presentation of the new format for the city's investment report, which all of you have a copy. In October 2018, the city's investment advisory contract was awarded to Chandler Asset Management. As you remember, the City Council, we engaged Chandler to provide additional and more robust investment services. Per the contract terms, Chandler was to prepare monthly investment reports in conjunction with the Deputy City Treasurer. As the reports had not been generated since January 2018, a plan of action was formulated to bring reporting to its current status. Chandler, the Deputy City Treasurer, and members of the finance team determined that all prior investment transactions beginning in January 2018 would be provided to Chandler for incorporation to the new city's investment report format, which also, by the way, has helped us also with our interest earned moving forward, while still maintaining liquidity as well as being in adherence to our investment policy. Each monthly report is now prepared by Chandler and then reviewed by the Deputy City Treasurer and the Chief Fiscal Officer. All reports are currently completed through May of 2019 and have been reconciled on our general ledger. There's no fiscal impact. Just wanted you to receive and file this so you understand that we're making sure that the City Council and the community has accurate and up-to-date reports regarding the city's investments.
Okay, thank you. Does any member of the council have any questions or comments on this? No? If not, we're going to receive and file this item here. Next, we're going to move on to item number 8B1. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor, members of the City Council, agenda number 8B1, A and B, is a public hearing which is the adoption of wireless facilities, urgency zoning code ordinance amendment, and adoption of a wireless policy. Item A is the urgency ordinance number 1805, adopting Chapter 18.70 to regulate wireless facility deployments on private and public property and in public right-of-ways, and amending the Gardena Municipal Code chapters as related to wireless facilities. Item B is resolution number 6391, which is adoption of a policy regarding wireless facilities as set forth in Gardena Municipal Code section 18.70.010. And we do have a presentation on this because it is a technical section of the law and an important policy decision. So we'll proceed with the presentation. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm Dr. Jonathan Kramer. I've had the privilege of being the city's technical advisor on wireless and broadband issues for many years. In fact, Lisa and I were talking, forgotten how long I've been working for you, so it's been a long time. Privileged to work with Peter. What we're doing here tonight is to ask you to consider adopting an urgency ordinance and a resolution to align the city's policies regarding cell towers, primarily in the right-of-way, with changes in federal law that have occurred recently, and essentially to provide aesthetic protections to the city so that as 4G now and 5G later are deployed in the city, it's not done in a haphazard manner, and it's done in a way that preserves the community aesthetics. So the balance of my presentation, which will take about 7-8 minutes perhaps, will be to go over, frame to you what's going on, also talking about the laws that are involved, and then asking for your comments and your questions to me. We'll go on. And again, I think I've just basically said this, I'll skip that. There are basically two types of cell sites that this ordinance regulates. It regulates all, but the two main types are what are called macro cells. You know them as the big towers, the ones that have been in Gardena for many, many, many years. Because of technical changes, sites like this and like these are no longer technically as attractive to the wireless carriers. Sites like these provide a lot of coverage, and now the technology is going in a different direction. The direction that it's going is towards what's called small cells. And based on industry estimates, I speak at wireless industry conferences under the Godfather principle. You know, keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. So it's fun going to the Wireless Industry Council's conferences as a city person. Based on their estimates, we're looking at somewhere between 500 and 700 cell sites in Gardena over about the next 5 years. Now that could be high, that could be low, but it's a range, it's actually within the range that we're expecting from the industry. As an example, there are cities in Southern California that since January 14th, a magic date under an FCC regulation, they've received over 100 applications just since January 14th. Many, many cities, and we work for a lot of them in Southern California, have received high two figures of applications. This is just the first wave. So what are small cells? Well, I'm going to give you examples of small cells that are already deployed here in Southern California. And as you're looking at these photos, this one, by the way, those two that I just showed you are from the same company, but obviously completely different designs, and I think you'll agree that one design is certainly more preferable than the other. Oddly enough, and not surprisingly, the code that we have brought for your consideration tonight looks towards the aesthetically more pleasing, if there is pleasure to be had, but the more aesthetically pleasing wireless facilities. Remembering that these are facilities that are going to be in your streets for decades to come. Another example, the company that built this one is the same company that built the two previous ones. We call this, by the way, the spear gun. So there's a lot of differences, and all these are in Southern California. There's a lot of differences, and what we want to make sure is that as these companies start deploying in Gardena, they're not doing things like this. It's okay in other cities that are willing to accept it, but we think that Gardena deserves better. This is an AT&T site in Beverly Hills, recently deployed. Look for the differences in the various designs. This is a Verizon site in Los Angeles, and that's also a, well, I'm sorry, we took out one slide. That's yet another type of design. So if you look at this versus this, one is more streamlined than off-center. So again, aesthetics count. Look, we understand that people want wireless services. The goal here is not to prevent wireless deployment, not to prevent the deployment of 4G and later 5G, but it's to do it in a responsible way, to be responsible community members. This is an interesting one. This is actually up in Palo Alto, and you can see the antenna that's on the light standard. But what you don't see is the equipment cabinet. And in fact, you do, because in this case, the equipment cabinet is in that faux mailbox at ground level. So there are many ways to actually hide the equipment. Yet another example of a light standard, this one being a traffic signal. That's down in San Diego area. This is a picture I took 4 days ago in the French Quarter of New Orleans. These sites are being deployed all over the country. In this case, it's actually the street post, the street sign post. So why do I show you all of these? It's because there is no cookie cutter. So the ordinance that you have for your consideration tonight reflects the fact that there are different types of designs, and that's why we're asking you to adopt the ordinance, which then adopts also the resolution we're asking you to do, because what we want is to have the flexibility at the staff level to say, okay, better designs exist. We don't want to have to go back to the big show, you folks, to make changes that will delay the implementation of better designs as they come down the path. So that's why it's a twofer tonight. I'm going to go through this briefly because it wouldn't be a complete presentation if I didn't talk about the many laws that regulate what we do. To start this framing, understand that our job at local governments is aesthetic. We're not in the technical regulation business. The FCC and Congress have made it very clear that they deal with technology issues. It is our job to deal with zoning and aesthetic issues. And even now the FCC is trying to overcome some of the zoning considerations, but that's a separate comment. So at the state level, we have two primary laws, and these are the two laws that control sites in the right-of-way. Most importantly is that we have time, place, and manner requirements that are given to us by the state as to communication facilities in the right-of-way. So these are very good and important laws for us at the city level. At the federal level, Congress, back in the Telecom Act of '96, preserved our local authority. They said basically we can't prohibit wireless, we can't unreasonably discriminate, and if the environmental effects are, if they are compliant with the FCC's rules, then we don't consider that. We have to act within a reasonable time. When dinosaurs ruled the earth last December, the FCC said a reasonable time for us to act on wireless applications was 60, 90, 150 days. But we also had clocks within that for staff to be able to process these on a timely basis. Back again in the dinosaur era, we had 30 days to take an application in and look at it to make sure it was complete. The FCC, helpfully for the industry at least, said, nah, you can do it in 10 days. Now, remember, I'm talking about large number. We've gotten roughly 25 applications in so far. So it puts the pressure on staff to do a lot more in a lot less time. And the results of that are that it puts a lot of pressure on staff to make sure that we're catching everything. By the way, one of the side issues in the ordinance we have tonight is we recognize the fact that humans work for cities and cities are made of humans. So we even have a fallback provision in the ordinance that says, look, if one of these gets approved by operation of law because the city didn't act fast enough, there are basic conditions that attach to it. So we've had a number of discussions, Raymond and Lisa primarily being the leaders on that, to make sure that we've got a lot of backup in the document before you to even anticipate problems like that. In terms of another part of federal law, certain types of projects are subject to almost automatic approval, modifications to cell sites. One of the important things about your job, protecting the aesthetics of Gardena, is that this ordinance pretty much requires that every cell site be camouflaged. And that helps to dampen down the effect of this particular law. And frankly, even if it didn't, it's the right thing to preserve the community aesthetics and basically not be like cities with spear guns on their poles. We're not allowed to do moratoriums anymore, so that's off the table, just to let you know. The FCC order from last year went into effect in January, and some portions of it went into effect last April. We're not all that late to the party, but one of the reasons why we're bringing this to you as an urgency ordinance now is more and more applications are coming in. Later on, we're going to go back to the Planning Commission and bring you a regular reading type of ordinance. It'll be essentially, we believe, the same thing. But this is to protect the city in the interim while we go back through the other process. Again, with cities receiving increasingly more applications, your city attorney's office decided that we had to move on this quickly. And that's why there have been meetings, thoughtful discussions with staff to get us to where we are tonight. We know that the ordinance that is in place here, the provisions we have are outdated. They've worked very well. I mean, I've represented the city in many application reviews for a long time, and we got by. But the rules have been tightened up at the federal level so much that we have to do this now. And I've already told you why a policy is because we want to basically have more flexibility. We also want to make sure that the city is properly paid. The cost of processing wireless applications, the FCC, as an example, has told us that they believe that your planners should be able to take in a wireless application, process it from end to end, and issue permits for the princely sum of $100. So effectively, the FCC is trying to get residents to bear the costs instead of those costs being borne by the wireless industry shareholders. So one of the things that we're doing in this ordinance is saying, look, these are the fees. This is why they're legitimate, and you have to pay our fees, and not just the $100. I can go into a lot more deep dive on this. I know that you've all had a chance to look through the agenda package, and I'll get through and then perhaps I'm going to take some questions if that would work. I've already talked about this actually. We have 3 sections. We have macro facilities. Eligible facility requests, that's the one that I was telling you about that almost requires us to approve modifications, but not for camouflage cell sites, which is again why it's important to do it. And then small cells, so those are the 3 sections. I've told you the goals here already, and I'll certainly be happy to answer questions about it, but what the important thing is to minimize obstructions in the right-of-way, have aesthetically thoughtful sites deployed in Gardena, and to have an orderly process to process the applications. Are there, and we asked the question in the ordinance, are there better, in the resolution, are there better sites, better locations? We don't want just where you want to go. We want to have a hand in that under, again, the state law that I showed you, 7901, our time, place, and manner authority. So now you can see how this is all tying together because we're at the bottom of the food chain, but we're the ones who are closest to the residents who are aesthetically impacted by these facilities and will be for decades. All of these things are essentially what I've talked about, and I know there are questions. So what we're asking you to do is, we're asking you to basically open the public hearing, receive any testimony. As you know, we did receive a letter from AT&T. We don't believe anyone from the industry has shown up tonight. Take whatever public testimony you'd like. Close the hearing. And we'd like you to adopt the ordinance as an urgency item because we want it to be effective as soon as possible so that we don't have a gap between now and the time we bring you back essentially the same document after it's gone through PC. And then separately, we'd like you to adopt the resolution. So that's the presentation. That's why this is important, and that's why this is an issue that will impact the aesthetics of Gardena for decades to come.
Okay, thank you. Before we open up the hearing, Mr. City Manager, is anything you'd like to add, or?
No, just ask the city council to take advantage. Dr. Kramer here, he's an expert, and certainly the questions you have. This is a very technical area. He did a great job explaining it very easily for most of us to understand. But as he said, this is a very important item, and it will impact Gardena for decades.
Okay, thank you. So
I'd
this,
also like to add,
sorry.
AT&T did file objections. However, Dr. Kramer did respond to all of those in a memo that is included in your agenda packet, and made some changes in the procedures to deal with some of the objections that AT&T made. And I think that what you have before you is a well-thought-out document.
okay, thank you. So at this time, we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing. And let me just first ask, Madam City Clerk, do we have any speakers requesting to speak on this item that we don't know of?
No, we do not.
Okay. I'd like to open this up to the council. Do you guys have any questions or comments? Let's start with Mayor Pro Tem, then we'll go to Councilmember Henderson and Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you very much, Dr. Kramer, for explanation. I worked with you before when I was a chair for Planning Commission. The advantage part to having 500 to 700 cell site to have great coverage, I'm assuming, right?
Yes.
And what's the disadvantage of it?
Well, the disadvantage is that there are going to be more cell sites roughly spaced for each company, roughly spaced at about 700 feet apart. We're seeing in some cities now multiple cell sites on the same block or in the same corner. So this is happening. But the technical need for it for the industry is that they want to actually cover smaller and smaller areas because they don't have they don't have an infinite number of frequencies. So they need to reuse the frequencies, and they want to put the cell sites closer to the users to penetrate their signal further into the homes. I somewhat jokingly refer to it as bathroom coverage. If you can cover the bathroom that's several walls in, surrounded by metal, you can cover the whole house. And that's their goal, and this is the way that they'd like to deploy it.
My next question is, each cell site, it belongs to certain company or all the companies that can use the same cell site? Let's say AT&T, Sprint, Verizon, T-Mobile, on and on, they can use the same cell site?
There was a time when the industry said that they could share facilities. That doesn't happen because each company wants to provide their signal in a particular direction, on a particular frequency. So we just don't see sharing anymore. That's why we have 4 major carriers today: AT&T, Verizon, Sprint, and T-Mobile. Sprint and T-Mobile may merge. Dish may be coming in as another wireless carrier. Literally this week, things are happening at the FCC on the merger and Dish Network. So there's still going to be a lot of people in the right-of-way who each want to have their own sites to provide their signal to their customers.
So each company requires 500 to 700 cell site?
Well, no, that's actually a total of what we think for all of the companies.
All the companies, okay. And my last question is, will this interfere with our first responders' communication?
No.
You will not?
No.
All right, different frequency.
Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kramer.
Councilmember Henderson?
All right, good to see you again, Doc, as well. In regards to asking the actual carriers, is there a better location, is that right reserved for us to ask? Because I don't want them to say, well, you have a better location, we can start digging up the streets and going underground. Is that more or less that we want to find a better location for you to put it, or we can say, do you want to move it 600 feet this way or 500 feet that way? Is that at our discretion or for them to decide?
One of the slides I had on was the fact that under state law, we do have time, place, and manner authority. And the ordinance before you tonight maximizes our use of that. As an example, what most cities don't want are mid-block cell sites. It's typically preferable to put cell sites at corners because the difference is impacting the number of residents. So this ordinance goes through a whole hierarchy. Can you do it there? If you can't do it there, can you do it here? If not there, can you do it here? And then it gets it down into residential. So there's a chain that they have to go through to show the city staff that they've come up with a reasonable site. And even when they do, we still have our time, place, and manner authority to say, you know what? We realize that this is the best location for you, but city staff, knowing the community, move it down one pole, put it over there instead. That's within our authority, and that's what this ordinance allows the city to do.
Next question I have in regards to the cable company. So Spectrum is also offering potential wireless as well, and they're going to a lot of residences already. So would this also guard against the potentiality that they offer a resident, say, hey, let us put this small thing on your chimney, on the back of your house, like an old dish satellite or something like that? I know we're trying to guard our right-of-ways, but does this also then extend to private properties where the cable company can't say, well, it's just an extension of our existing service? Can we get in front of that as well?
Wireless companies already deploy hundreds of thousands of Wi-Fi nodes in public rights-of-way throughout California. Spectrum, which you brought up, is actually not a wireless provider with its own network. They actually buy minutes in bulk and then resell that with their branded service. So they're not a wireless provider as we would think of AT&T and Sprint. Could they be? Yes, but that's in the future.
Trying to get ahead of them. Next question I have, but I think we kind of resolved it already. Councilman already asked about the sharing of the networks. Because the industry kind of went around the CPUC and went straight to the feds, how can we now, with this ordinance and everything, as far as 5 years, 10 years, we're only 6 square miles, 500 to 700 cell towers. We don't have that many light poles in the city of Gardena. So what can we start looking at doing? Are they going to try to put them now on stop signs, or what's going to happen with that?
Yes. You have more than the number of poles, but as an example, in Palos Verdes Estates, also Rancho Palos Verdes, they're using other types of facilities. The picture I showed you from New Orleans uses a replacement for a signpost. The technology exists. There is no single answer. What your staff wants is the flexibility to look for the best design at the best location at the time it's brought forward without being locked in to a particular design because we did it 5 years ago that we have to do it again. Yeah. That's why the resolution is such an important element to all of this.
Can I ask a clarifying question? With regards to our light poles and other city-owned equipment that they may want to put a cell site on, can you explain to the council the process that they would have to go through to authorize the use of our facilities and equipment and poles, et cetera?
Well, the FCC has, in its September order last year, the one that became effective first in January this year, helpfully to the industry said that local governments shouldn't charge more than $270 per attachment to a municipal facility per year. Historically, most jurisdictions in Southern California have charged roughly $1,000 to $1,500 per year. Those funds typically go into the general fund to fund discretionary acts. But the FCC is trying to say that we should make our public property available. They haven't gone that far, but they're trying to set rates for us that are actually less than we understand Edison charges. So they're looking for the solution on the cheap, and we're looking for protection of the community aesthetics. At this point, the FCC has not required us to make our city property available. You'll remember a couple of years ago, SB 649 was the industry's attempt to achieve just that, and Governor Brown vetoed it 8 minutes before the end of the legislative session. We'll see if it comes back. Governor Newsom has been certainly a supporter of cities and local authority. So, you know, the bottom line is this is a moving target. We're here tonight to bring you to last April. And we'll probably be here over the next few years, a few more times, as things above us at the state and the federal level change, to make sure that we have the most defendable and defensible ordinance to protect the residents.
Go ahead.
Final question is in regards to, will we also be potentially opening ourselves up for a lawsuit if we adopt the urgency ordinance now for applications that are currently in the queue? And would they view that as us now trying to be punitive in a reactive manner? Is that a possibility?
The answer to that is it depends on the status of the application. For applications that have not been deemed complete, the new rules would generally apply. For those applications that are deemed complete, they would operate under the old rules. Again, that's one of the reasons why we're bringing this to you as an urgency ordinance instead of doing a 2-reading process that would then take another 30 days to become effective. We're trying to plug a hole that we see is getting wider, and then we'll come back and do the process. The wireless industry has, in various places, objected to the process of an urgency ordinance. The fact that we're seeing hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of applications flooding into Southern California communities right now supports the prudent process that your city attorney's office and our firm have recommended you go through. And that's why we'll come back later with a more full process. But this is the belt, and we'll be coming back with the suspenders.
Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Tanaka?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Kramer. Just a couple of quick ones. So AT&T is the only one that complained?
Yes.
Okay. Now, Ed talked about the public and the government properties. What's to stop them from going to a personal property and saying, let me put a site up?
It's
We'll pay.
basically, it's virtually, I don't want to say it's impossible. One of the provisions in the ordinance is what we call the safety valve. If they can demonstrate that absolutely no other location or combination of locations can do. There was a slide I had up there that said we can't prohibit or have the effect of prohibiting the service. We have the safety valve in there to make sure that happens, but the odds of that happening are minuscule. And I can tell you as a radio frequency engineer for nearly 40 years, I love it when they say there's one and only one location. I say, one and only one location you have a lease for? Yeah. One and one location that is the best for you? Yeah. One location that would cost you less than building 2 that would cover the same area? Oh, yeah. Well, when we're talking about that, and I'd like to say to them, look, you're building facilities that are going to be in the right-of-way for 50 years. You have a long time to amortize your costs. The fact that you want to make your quarter not on the backs of the citizens of Gardena. So the answer to your question ultimately is it possible? Yes. Is it an extremely remote possibility? The hoops that they would have to go through to actually demonstrate that there's one and only one location and it's on a residence are so close to zero as to be nil.
Any other questions? I have a question. Well, Dr. Kramer, first off, thank you for coming and explaining all of this. This is all very technical, and unfortunately, the only thing I know how to use is my cell phone, aside from all of this here. But I think this is great because it's protecting, the aesthetics of our community. But I just have some questions as far as, right now, do we currently have macro cells in our city? Are those the type of cell sites we have?
The older sites that have been here for more than 10 years are the macro cells. They're the ones that cover half a mile.
Okay.
The sites that we're getting in the application queue right now are two types. One, to modify those old sites to add more bands of frequency. And the second type is the small cells that go into the public right of way. Those are the ones that are coming in.
Okay, and just on average, the macro, how many would you say our city currently has?
You know, I don't have that number. I don't even want to guess.
Mayor, there's quite a few. Some of them are more prominent than others. If you can, I can remind you, like Bell Park, for example, has some pretty big towers that we allowed a ground lease on for some macro sites. If you look up and down Artesia and all the major thoroughfares, there's quite a few of them. I don't know the exact number.
Well,
These would be on top of those.
Right. Well, I guess when we say quite a few, are we talking quite a few like 7, or are we talking quite a few like 80? I just want to kind of have an idea.
You know, I've worked for the city reviewing applications for many, many years. I would say we're in the dozens.
Okay, that kind of gives me an idea.
And as one that sticks in my mind, at the SCE yard, there's a tower, artistic tower there. That's a macro cell site in the SCE yard. So they are around the city, but the city has historically done a lot of work at the planning department level to hide them as best we can.
Okay. Okay.
The fact that you asked the question actually is a testament to your planning staff for that reason.
Okay, very good. Okay, well, if there are no other questions, we're going to go ahead and close the hearing at this time. So there's 2 things that we need to do. Number 1, we need to adopt the urgency ordinance. That's the first item there, before we adopt the resolution. So at this time, can I get a motion to adopt urgency ordinance number 1805?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Cascanian. I called you. I'm sorry. And Mayor Serta.
I think we have
I'm
Henderson
sorry.
first. That's okay.
I missed you. Okay. Councilmember Henderson.
Gotta get you some reps there, City Clerk. You didn't.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
tired.
Yeah.
Yes, I apologize.
It's okay.
Yeah, I've been on the go.
And Mayor Serta.
And my vote is yes as well.
Mayor Serta.
Okay,
Thank
yes.
you.
Okay, so next we need to adopt resolution number 6391. This is the second half here. Can I get a motion to do so?
So moved.
Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Medina and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka. Yes. Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, well, Dr. Kramer, thank you very much for taking the time to explain all of that to us. As I said earlier, that was super technical, and thank you for being here to explain it.
Thank you. I'll see you in a few months.
Okay, very good. Okay, so next we're going to move on to item number 8D1. Mr. City Manager.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8D1 is approved plans and specifications and award contract for a local street overlay 2018 at various locations. This is job number 921 to Sequel Contractors, Inc. in the amount of $706,299.27. On May 20th, 2019, the city received 4 bids for the construction contract for local street overlay 2018 at various locations. The apparent low bidder, Sequel Contractors, Inc., is a state licensed contractor with verified success construction experience in the field and will be required to meet all bonding and financing standards. The project will overlay approximately 250,000 square feet of asphalt pavement, slurry 450,000 square feet of pavement, and replace 45 8-inch traffic signal heads with 12-inch LED traffic signal heads. I'm sure they're going to want to sell things on those. Sufficient funds to complete the project were appropriated by the City Council in 2018-19 capital improvement budget using gas tax funds. The amount of the expense is $1.5 million, which covers design, construction, management and inspection, construction, and engineering. The funding source is gas tax funds, and the anticipated revenue to support this project is $1.5 million from the funds I previously noted. What is required by the City Council to approve plans and specifications of and award contract to Sequel Contractors, Inc. A list of the other bidders is on the agenda summary report.
Okay, thank you. So at this time, are there any questions or comments? Councilmember Medina?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Is the recycle clause still applicable to this contract as well?
All the products that are diverted will be recycled in accordance to our standards.
Any other questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to approve the plans and specifications and award the contract to Sequel Contractors Incorporated from Santa Fe Springs?
So moved.
Is there a Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Councilmember Tanaka and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Next up is item number 8F1. Mr. City Manager?
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, agenda number 8F1 is resolution number 6400 to approval of local agreement number CCTR 9077 with the California Department of Education for fiscal year 2019 and 20. The Gardena Family Child Care Program, GFCC, provides quality educational and subsidized child care in licensed family child care homes in Gardena and bordering cities for low-income families whose parents are employed, in school, or training and also seeking employment or are incapacitated and require assistance. GFCC staff also offers technical assistance in areas such as curriculum, the child care environment, behavioral problems, and development and age-appropriate practices. Staff recommends the City Council approve the local agreement and adopt resolution number 6400 authorizing the mayor and the city clerk to execute the agreement with the California Department of Education, which has been already approved as to form by the city attorney. The contract amount for the program is $2,433,722, which will provide funding for the program for fiscal years 19 and 20. The revenue is coming from the Department of Education for the Family Child Care Program. There is no cost to the general fund. What is required by the City Council is to adopt resolution number 6400 and approve the local agreement number CCTR 9077 with the California Department of Education.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions or comments? If not, can I get a motion to adopt resolution number 6400?
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay. Madam City Clerk, there was a motion made by Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian and a second by Councilmember Medina. Will you call the roll, please?
Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian.
Yes.
Councilmember Medina.
Yes.
Councilmember Henderson.
Yes.
Councilmember Tanaka.
Yes.
Mayor Serta.
Yes. Okay, so next up is item number 9A1. This is verbal reports regarding the ICA Summer Seminar. If I could ask Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Henderson, if you guys don't mind giving that within your reports. Okay. We're going to move on next to council directives. Does any member of the council have any directives at this time? Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. City Manager, of course, I need to get a second. If we could get some follow-up on the lot, the Bank of America lot with the concrete barriers, just get some follow-up to see the status of that discussion with those business owners.
Second.
Okay. Any other directives? If not, let's move on to our city manager's remarks regarding our previous directives.
Mayor Serta, members of the City Council, in your packages, you have a number of items that I've provided you. First of all is a memo regarding the Gardena Restaurant Week, which we are in the planning stages of. The council was provided an email regarding this event about a week ago. This is now a more formal notification of where we're at in terms of the event itself. This is a joint venture between the City of Gardena and the Gardena Chamber, so more information to follow. But I wanted you to have the information as we're promoting the event. Item number 2 is a memo regarding the Gramercy Place street improvements between 169th and Artesia to make it short, they're awarding a multi-million-dollar project, so we believe our best estimate is that work won't be done for 6 to 7 months from now, according to the City of Torrance. The information is contained in your report. There's also a detailed memo regarding the mayor's directive regarding the city treasurer survey that's in your package. If anybody from the council has more information they would like, please let me know. And if you want to take a direction, please direct staff at the next available meeting. There's also a report on the status of the Lucky Lady Casino, and I just thought I'd highlight that for the city council to some degree. Today, we received notice from the Lucky Lady Casino that it is likely that at least 3 more months before the casino is able to open, and as a result, much of their staff has to be laid off until the casino gets operated again. We are working diligently with the casino operators. Staff knows this is a very important priority for our community as well as those displaced workers. And we certainly won't have anything that the city will do to cause any delay whatsoever in getting the Lucky Lady operational again. Staff and community development understands the importance to our community regarding this casino, and we will do our best to ensure that they open as quickly as possible. As many of you have seen the pictures or you've been out there in person, this is a substantial amount of work that needs to be done, and we wish them the best in getting that back into service as quickly as possible. There's a number of announcements. And Park and Recreations Month open house. It's Wednesday, July 24th at the Nakoka Community Center. Concerts on the Lawn is Saturday, July 27th at the City Hall complex from 5 to 7. Operation Backpack in the park, which is Friday, August 2nd at Johnson Park from 4 to 7 p.m. And Movies in the Park, Saturday, August 3rd, the Nakoka Center at 8 p.m. And then lastly, Gardena Police Department's National Night Out, which is Tuesday, August 6th, will be held here in front of City Hall, not at Target, which we've had a relationship there for many, many years. We have moved that event here in front of City Hall, and there's going to be lots more information getting out and advertising that event. But once again, the change of venue here in front of our City Hall on 162nd Street, right in front of City Hall. That's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. So next we're going to move on to our council remarks. Tonight we're going to begin with Councilmember Medina.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And since our last meeting, I had the privilege of delivering birthday cakes to convalescent homes, which Waste Resources sponsors the event. They buy 7 cakes, and we go to 7 convalescent homes to deliver them. So in essence, I'm the conduit between Waste Resources and the convalescent homes. And before I go any further, I want to say hi to my better half, Susanna, and happy 25th anniversary. And today is our 25th anniversary. Thank you. And also our granddaughter's watching on TV, so hi, Angelina. And I didn't forget. Also, we had a meeting with the Council of Governments with regards to the latest outbreak of the mosquitoes. So please, for those of you out there who have standing water, please clear it. We had the same issue not only at the COG but also at the vector control. We're really trying to get aggressive with stopping people from leaving water standing. And especially if you have a pool, now that summer's around, make sure that you have the water running or the air filters running, and make sure that the water is constantly moving. And I'd like to remind you that this coming Saturday, we have concerts in the park, all the ice cream you can eat. This time we have 2 bands. We have Nappy and his friends doing Hawaiian music, and then Nappy's sons, they have a band called The March, and they will be playing the second half of the concert. And if you can picture Nappy doing Hawaiian music and their sons doing Hawaiian reggae music, so it's going to be a treat. And again, all the ice cream you can eat, and maybe coffee, depending on the temperature. And that's all I have, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Kaskanian.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the hour is being a little late, I'm just going to go through the events and I attended it. June 29th, I attended JCI Matsuri fundraiser. It was a great event. It wasn't my first time I'm attending the Matsuri fundraiser. Concert on the lawn, same day. Nice ice cream. We enjoyed the music along with the Madam Mayor, and our picture made it in the GVN as well. 4th of July, Independence Day celebration at Raleigh Park. Thank you, Stephanie Santin and Nikki Sweeney. Nice firework. It was a little long, and it was great. Thank you, and happy 4th of July. July 11th, I attended the Independent City Association seminar in Carlsbad. Again, my first time, this one as well. A great seminar. I learned a lot of things from the seminar. Good connection with other colleagues from different cities. I'm not gonna go to the detail. I'm gonna leave to my colleague, Councilman Henderson. He was the president for the ICA, and he will go through the details. And he still is? One more month, okay, or I'll take it back. Mr. President, he will give us the detail. July 16, G-Trans Employee Appreciation Date. Great job, Ernie, and I'm pretty sure all the employees appreciate it too. And that's end my report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Next is Councilmember Tanaka.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I apologize for some of the events that I missed after the 4th, but I was with my children in Palm Springs, so I apologize. But I was able to welcome the Watabampo youth to our city. The next day, I attended the City Hall visit where they had their tour, and I was able to attend the farewell dinner when they went home. Attended Community Day at the Gardena Torrance Baptist Church. That was a great event. PD showed up, fire showed up, and there was a lot of just great events that they had there. Attended G-Trans Employee Recognition, and congratulations to all those that got safe driving awards, especially I believe there was one for 50 years worth of safe driving, which is pretty cool. So congratulations to them. And the food was good too. Today, I attended the Sergeant's Promotional for our police department. Congratulations to Sergeant Goodpaster and Sergeant Jimenez. I'm extremely proud of Sergeant Jimenez because I knew him when he was an explorer, and he has come a long way to make sergeant, so we're proud of him. And lastly, I attended the jeweling for our District Deputy Grand Exalted Ruler for the South Central Coast District. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you. And for myself, since the last council meeting, attended a couple of events here. The first one, I attended one of our neighboring cities, the city of Compton's, their swearing-in ceremony for one of their incumbents who was reelected, Ms. Emma Sharif, as well as a new council member there, Ms. Michelle Chambers. So it was a very nice event that they had there. They had their swearing-in actually on a Saturday, which was separate from a council meeting. They had a band, and it was just a grand entrance, and I'm thinking maybe we should step ours up a little, but just saying, you know, I like to visit other cities to see what they do. And some shish kebab, yes. Also, I attended later on that day Sarah High School's class of 1953 through 1968 high school reunion, and it was just great being there and just kind of bringing greetings to those who were returning for the reunion. So was there very briefly, but had a great time. I also attended the concert on the lawn with Councilmember Kaskanian, and there's a great picture of us in the newspaper. It looks like I'm laughing and choking on ice cream while Mayor Pro Tem Kaskanian is just having fun eating ice cream. So it was another good event. Also, I attended a collective meeting for our sanitation district. And I don't know if any of you recall, but we have had some speakers come up maybe a couple of weeks back regarding a labor dispute that was happening with our sanitation board. And I am happy to report that they were finally able to get the necessary raises that they've been asking for several years now. And so it was a good thing. We had to drive all the way to Whittier, but we had quorum. There was many cities that had to be there. So it was a good thing for our sanitation workers. So the best way I can describe it is every time you flush your toilet, be glad it's working, and it's because of those sanitation workers. So I'm glad they got their raise. Also, I attended the fireworks celebration, and I too would like to thank the staff for doing a great job, and looking forward again to next year's. I attended the Watabampo Youth Delegation, the welcome dinner, and I'd just like to thank the Sister City group for just always doing a great job and facilitating that, along with working with our city staff members. I know they came in on a Sunday, and yes, Susie was there driving them around, so I just appreciate what our staff does, along with one of our local nonprofit cities that works with us. I also attended the ICA conference, and first and foremost, Councilmember Henderson is the president for this past year, and he passed the gavel over to the new gentleman. I didn't realize you were still going to be it for 1 month. I thought it was that night. But just like to congratulate you on a very successful year. Glad it was very good for the ICA. And just a couple of things just want to mention about the conference. They had a lot of great sessions there that talked about current things that we're dealing with, whether it's government and technology, affordable housing, pension. But the one thing that really stood out for me this time, they were talking about the census count, and they were more specifically addressing the residents' concerns as it relates to homeless. And one of the things that was said was in this year's homeless count, they noticed more seniors that were homeless. And one of the contributing factors was reverse mortgages. And that was really scary to hear, because it hasn't been that long ago that reverse mortgages came out. So it's something that I think we really kind of need to keep our eye on as people are approaching our seniors about that. It's just really scary to know that, all your life you've lived in a home, and all of a sudden you're on the street and you lost it because of some of the technical things that can happen as a result of a reverse mortgage. So just something that I think people definitely need to pay attention and look more closely into, as far as, hopefully that can never be your situation. So I'm going to leave the rest of that to Councilmember Henderson to talk a little bit more about the ICA. But all in all, it was a very good conference, and I'm glad Mayor Pro Tem, was able to attend and really see the benefit of attending these conferences. I know in the past I've heard some people say, well, what exactly do you guys do at the conferences? You just play golf and hang out? But no, there's a lot of really good, useful things that you can learn, especially as a new council member, things that maybe you don't get just sitting here on the dais. So I think it's a good idea that more of us can be able to attend those in the future and really understand government and some future planning that we as elected officials are expected to do. Let's see, as soon as I came back, I attended the farewell dinner for the Watabampo youth. And while I'm talking about the youth in our sister city, I'd like to also mention that our sister city is very busy. They've just finished taking around our youth from Watabampo. And in 2 weeks, we will have students from Gardena who will be going to Ichikawa, Japan for a week. So that's a very busy organization. There's a lot going on with that. Just like I said, thank our city for all that we're doing when we host the kids here. Our kids are going there. I've had the fortune of being able to go to Japan a couple of times, and when we go there, they put on a great, just a whole great a series of venues for them there. And I think it's really important for us, as we prepare for their students to come here, as well as their elected officials, that we should be thinking about this now, as far as how we can plan to make sure that they have a really good trip there. There's so many things that we see in 5 days there. It's going to be great for the kids. I know it was great for all of us who've attended. So it's just something I like to just keep in the back of your minds. If you're not familiar with Sister City, it's a good idea for us to, figure ways that we can make their trips great here. Also, I attended the very, very last part of the G-Trans Employee Appreciation Luncheon, just long enough to get lunch. Sorry I missed most of it. But again, I'd like to just thank all of our G-Trans employees for great jobs that they're doing. Also attended my monthly JPA meeting, my sanitation meeting, attended Coffee with a Cop at Giuliano's. Great event. There were so many people talking about how much fun that was. Councilmember Cascanian was there. There were several of us that got a chance to go by there. One thing I did hear from some of the residents was, what are we doing as far as to get more people to come to that? I mean, sometimes we see some of the same people, but just curious, are we doing some things to get new members to come out to that? So are we only doing social media? Are we, one of the suggestions that was made was possibly putting it up on the electronic sign at Redondo Beach Boulevard and Western. I don't know if we're already doing that, but it was a suggestion that was thrown at me just so we can get new people there as well. Always a great event, but it's always even better to see even more people there. Also, I attended the promotion ceremony earlier today. You know, my congrats go to both of our newly promoted sergeants. And lastly, I attended a new Lions group that's in the city of Gardena. It's called the Southern California Inca Lions. They had their installation of new board members at El Pola Inca on June 30th. And with that, that ends my report. Next up is Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Because the hour is long, I will forego my 64-slide presentation on the ICA seminar. But I definitely want to say I want to thank yourself as well as Mayor Pro Tem Cascanian for attending. I think it's important that our colleagues actually do participate in a lot of these seminars. This year, as president of ICA, I had a few goals in regards to making sure there's some more up-to-date content and different things as far as cities, giving them the opportunity to highlight themselves in some of the things that they do well. I think as in municipal service, city government, sometimes everybody talks about what we don't do well. So my tenure as president, I wanted to highlight a lot of the things that cities do well. So we created that vehicle, that opportunity for cities to showcase the things they're doing well. I've been also able to expand our membership down into Orange County and Riverside County to get them to understand that we're all kind of in this thing together. And one city, City of Ventura, is still working on them in regards to being part of this consortium. ICA is the Independent Cities Association, which is all the member cities that have their own public safety, either police or fire and other things. But it was a great conference. A year as president, I'm glad it's only a one-year term because that's a lot of work. I tell everybody the joke is it's like herding cats, but these cats are mountain lions, so it's a little different to kind of get everybody to go in the same direction. Oh, and the city manager was there. I forgot. Yeah, he was sneaking there. Everybody loves our city manager in ICA. They think he's a great guy as well. One of the great things I think about our ICA conference as we start looking at some of the topics, and I won't go through all of them, but we get to kind of see where we are in regards to where other cities are. So like the technology session that went ahead where Oracle did a presentation on not just their tool, but what cities can do to have technology kind of make them proactive and be really responsive to the community. So our mayor did a demonstration of Gardena Direct and different things like that. So we're doing a lot of things that are proactive and forward thinking, becoming leaders in our own space, which is a good thing. Like you, Madam Mayor, I learned quite a bit. I was able to enjoy some of it trying to plan for this thing. It was very nerve-wracking. We have a great executive director, a great executive board, a great board. One of my goals was to increase the diversity on the board. So we now have 3 women that are on the board, Mayor Pro Tem of Bell Gardens, the mayor of Southgate, and I can't remember, some other southeastern city in LA County, I can't remember. So we were able to do that. ICA, we're headed into some financial difficulty and everything, so we were able to square that away. So they're definitely in the black. Actually, we're way in the black now in regards to what we've been doing, sponsorship. I don't let us buy anything, so we're able, dollar saved is a dollar earned. and that's been great. We're in really good standing as an organization as we grow. The incoming president will be Councilman Richard Montgomery of Manhattan Beach, so this will be a good thing. So we're trying to keep the title in the South Bay as best we can. Thus far, Gardina's had 2 presidents of ICA and everything, so that's good as we start getting involved in, the other session that was really got me to thinking was the, how do we address the residential concerns or the residents' concerns in regards to homelessness. Homelessness is a major issue that's happening in LA County, and every city is being impacted by the homelessness issue as we look at Measure H and different things that we're going to do. But there's a lot of things that we didn't know as elected leaders of what we can say to our community and the business community as they ask us, well, can't we just move them? Can't we do this? And so a lot of things were explained to us as far as the ordinance and the time it takes to inventory a lot of the property of folks that are homeless and different things that we can do. So there's a commitment from our organization as well as LA County, contract cities, all the other organizations, all the cities to try to address this homelessness and everything. Gardena, our homelessness count has gone up a little bit as well, so we have to figure out what we're going to do. But it was really informative because a lot of times when we get calls, well, somebody needs to do something about this, it's not just that easy as just going to round people up and move them. So there's a lot of things that go into that. So we have to work on that. What was encouraging about one of the sessions was economic development in regards to enhanced infrastructure financing districts. It shows that we're kind of working in a good scenario as far as having our master plans and different things together. So when we are ready to pull the trigger on various economic development, our residential development, we'll be in a good spot. Pension obligation solutions, there was a session on that. That was kind of really doom and gloom. I didn't plan it to be such when we got there, but the reality is a lot of public sector agencies have that pension obligation, and we're trying to figure out what we're going to do with that. Some more affluent cities have been fortunate enough to kind of pay their obligation off, but the rest of us, we're still working that, trying to pay it off. So it was very enlightening and everything. The President's reception, again, Madam Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for attending. The location that we had the reception in was immaculate. It was a lot of fun to be in that. I'll end that ICA report. A lot of the city events that we had, I couldn't attend because I had all kind of house emergencies. I had a bathroom flood, had a fire in the kitchen, and some carpet, something, all kind of stuff was happening. Yeah, it was a small fire. It wasn't a real fire. It was a small fire. But don't throw water on a grease fire. Baking soda. But what I want to say, I want to give kudos to all our local trades folks. I was able to call everybody, plumber, electrician, painter, everybody that's in our community. I try to make sure I spend my dollars here in our city, as well as even getting gas. I make sure I get gas in the city. But I want to say kudos to a lot of our vendors in the city. And Madam Mayor, I have one sad note I want to report, and I would definitely love you if you would adjourn in the memory of Darren Parker. For those that know Mrs. Parker, her house right there on 132nd, her son Darren Parker passed this past Sunday. He was 59 years old. He had esophageal cancer in his throat. He was the chair of the California Democratic Party African American Caucus, as well as assisted many of the assembly speakers in Sacramento. He was a labor activist, a political activist. Although Gardena was his home, he resided in Antelope Valley, but he is a member of this community. So we definitely want to adjourn in his memory, Darren W. Parker. I want to wish his mom, Miss Parker, his wife, Brenda, and all his daughters and granddaughters our prayers and condolences from the council, because he was a good friend and is a good mentor politically. And so ends my report.
Okay, thank you. Noted. Okay, so with that, we're going to move on to announcements. I have a few announcements here. So a couple of events that are going to be coming up on tomorrow, July 24th. We have the Recreation and Human Services Department, their Parks and Recreation Month, which is titled Game On. It's an open house of fun, food, and games, which will be at the Nakaoka Center tomorrow from 2 to 4 p.m. Also, this coming Saturday, we have our Concert on the Lawn and Ice Cream Social. It was mentioned earlier, the band is Nappy and Friends, and I think you said the March. So this Saturday, July 27th, from 5 to 7 p.m., which also will be here at the Nakaoka Center on the lawn. On August 6th, we will have our Gardena Police Department's 36th Annual National Night Out from 7 to 9 p.m. And again, it will be a location change. Instead of Target, it will be here at the Gardena Police Department. And that will, again, will be from 7 to 9 p.m. Also, we have in our neighboring city, Lawndale, we have a free household and hazardous electronic waste roundup. I know it's not in Gardena, but it's close enough by if you want to get rid of these items. So it will be on Saturday, August 10th from 9 to 3 a.m. at Lawndale High School in the parking lot. And let's see. Also, we have a open recruitment for relief bus drivers at G-Trans. G-Trans is now hiring relief bus operator trainees. Join G-Trans this Saturday, July 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the G-Trans facility, which is located at 13999 Southwestern Avenue in Gardena. And staff will be there to assist with applications and on-hold site interviews. The position requires no commercial license and no Class B license. Employment benefits include health, vacation, sick accruals, and retirement pension. So come out this Saturday, July 27th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the G-Trans facility on 139th and Western in the city of Gardena. You can also apply online by visiting riotgtrans.com and click on jobs at the bottom of the homepage. Also, I just want to remind everybody that we still have applications like this here. If you would like to become one of our military veterans that are recognized, in our lobby here as well as in the city manager's office, we have applications there. If you have any questions, feel free. You can call 310-217-9503, and I believe we might even be able to email one to you. And the last announcement I have here, as the director on the sanitation board, we have annual boat tours of the sanitation area as far as how our marine life is affected by this. And this year, I'm taking anybody who would like to join. We can only take no more than 30 people, but we have a lot of young people who are curious about the process of sanitation and how it affects our marine life. So on August the 24th, if any of my colleagues, if any of you would like to attend this with me, it's a 3-hour boat tour out of San Pedro, and you can call our City Hall number 310-217-9507 if you're interested in attending the tour to see exactly what the sanitation district does and how the waste, once it's treated, it goes out into the water. So it's really great for young students as well as those who are interested in marine biology or just what's happening in the atmosphere. So that concludes my announcements.
Mayor, I have one other announcement.
Okay, please.
Not that I think you would do this, so I'll do it for you.
Okay.
In celebration of your birthday,
Oh.
we invite everyone to go into the MIC for cake.
Oh, okay, thank you. All right, so we're going to move on.
She's just turning 38, right?
38. 28? Okay.
36.
All right. Thank you. Okay, so tonight we're going to adjourn in memory of two people. The first one is Mr. Thomas H. Willoughby, who was 85 years old and a longtime South Bay resident, 24-year veteran of the U.S. Air Force who served in France, Germany, North Africa, Korea, Japan, and Vietnam. Also among his many community group affiliations, he was a full-time volunteer of the Carson Gardena Dominguez Rotary Club. Elected as club president in 1990 and stayed an active member until his death on June 5th, 2019. We're also going to be adjourning in memory of Mr. Darren W. Parker, who was 59 years of age, and he was the chair of the African American Democratic Party and say that again?
He was the chair of the African American Caucus.
African American Caucus, thank you. and he grew up here in the city of Gardena, as well as his family is still here in Gardena. So with that, the Gardena City Council will adjourn to our next regularly scheduled city council meeting, which will be at 7 p.m. on Tuesday, August 13, 2019. Please join us in the MIC room for cake, and we are adjourned. Thank you.